So I'm going to be talking about trends in publishing and collection development, and some of which in terms of print versus digital collections. Okay. And I represent Follett here in Singapore, and I just wanted to give a little background on the expertise and the history of Follett so that you kind of know where we're coming from. So Follett is a company based out of McHenry, Illinois in the United States, and it's a 145-year-old company. We work with 86,000 schools around the world, and through Tidal Wave, which Jane mentioned, we have 11 million print titles and around 700,000 ebooks, working with publishers, every major publisher from the US and the UK, and some Australian publishers as well. And through our Destiny library management system, we've circulated over 1 billion books to K through 12 students. And we have over 6,000 publishing partners that we work with. So, you know, we have a lot of experience working with school libraries. So a little bit about the publishing and usage trends with print and ebooks. So I'm curious to see if you guys all have kind of found the same, but the research is saying print is alive and well. It is not going anywhere. So just in this last year, we've seen that sales of print books have risen in both the US and the UK from the previous year. So print sales are up. And from a 2017 survey of school districts in the United States, only 1% of schools have converted to entirely digital, okay? And the majority of the schools say that more than half of their curricular materials are still print. So, and librarians that I speak to say the same, and I was just having the same conversation with Jane earlier. Print is still popular, it's still being used, it is not being outpaced by digital at all. So what are some of those reasons? Okay, one is finding and accessing the digital materials. So a student walks into the library, they see books on the shelves, they might see front-facing books, they might see shelves full of books. How are they going to find the digital content? Now, of course, you can go into the library system and search for the books, but it's a whole lot easier to choose books when they're sitting right in front of you. So that, I think, has been a huge challenge for schools. Another one is device availability. Now, of course, in some cases, this is not an issue at all. In other schools, it's a huge issue. So, you know, it really depends. Is the school one-to-one? Do students have their own devices? Are they able to easily access and check out books, ebooks? And of course, schools need to have different material types for different learning styles. If you only had print and you didn't have any audiobooks, any ebooks, you're only really targeting one learning style. Same thing if you have only digital content. Some students aren't going to be able to read and really focus if they're only reading ebooks. And variety of platforms and lending models. This is confusing to schools. It's confusing to me. It's confusing to everyone. You know, every publisher is doing something a little bit different. Every vendor is doing something a little bit different. So you have different access points, you have different passwords, you have different logins, you have different apps. So where are you choosing to buy your content from, and how is everybody accessing it? And you know, whether you have individual single uses, multi-user, 26 checkout. A lot of publishers are using that for very popular, especially fiction titles, and you know, renewable time periods. So there's all of these things to consider, and it's complicated for the purchasers. So what are we seeing? Even though what we are not seeing is that digital is taking over, that is not happening, but what are we seeing? So sort of the flat ebook, you know, the just plain, the digital version of a print ebook, that's around, that's not going away, but what is here now and what is coming? So interactive content, ebooks with audio, video, with quizzes, with activities. A lot of publishers, especially textbook publishers, are doing print and digital combination. So you might purchase a print ebook that will give you access to online content as well. Using data and adaptive learning. So especially with these more interactive types of ebooks, publishers are able to see you know, how are users interacting with the content? What is resonating with them? What are they spending more time on? What are they just flying right through? So it helps them as they continue to develop their materials. And similarly, within schools, it's helping schools. So you have reporting that's telling you whether a student is pretending to read an ebook and just flying through and not stopping on any page, whether they seem like, by the amount of time they're spending, whether it seems like they're actually reading every page. Are they highlighting words? Are they using the dictionaries? So that's sort of the data piece of it. And then the adaptive learning is taking that a step further where, the digital content and the providers, they're going to be sort of using how the students are interacting with the content in order to adapt and make the content better for them. So these are some of the things that we're seeing on the horizon in terms of digital content. Last, I just want to leave this. Does it really matter? As long as the students, teachers, anyone, as long as someone is reading, does it really matter the format? It's saying books over every other media and getting kids to read. It doesn't matter whether they're reading an ebook or a print book. The important thing is getting books in the hands of students. So that's the goal of Follett. I'm sure that's the goal of everyone in this room, is to get books in the hands of students. So whether it's digital, whether it's print, whether it's interactive, whether it's an audiobook, reading is key. So that's kind of what I wanted to leave off with here. And a few trends in terms of digital versus print with the collection development. So this is what the collection development experts at Follett have told me are requests that have been coming in. So as we've seen, as I mentioned earlier, print still remains more popular. The requests that are coming in are more print than digital, absolutely. If a school is requesting a list for ebooks, they're typically requesting the multi-user rather than the single user. So what does that mean? The single user means one person can read one book at one time, just like the print book. A multi-user means the entire class or the entire school could open up one copy of that book at the same time. The nonfiction curriculum-related materials are more requested than fiction books. Now, those last 2 points tie in together. The multi-user tends to be more nonfiction, and it tends to be perhaps less popular new fiction. If you have a new popular fiction title, it is not going to be a multi-user ebook because the publishers are not going to be making the money they want to be making on those books. Interactive ebooks are very popular as well. So Lightbox is an interactive ebook that is exclusive to Follett, and that one is requested quite a bit, especially for elementary and middle school students. One thing that they've said is a lot of schools are indeed using multiple platforms. So they might be using Follett ebooks, they might be using Overdrive, and they might be using Epic, for example, so that they really are targeting all different user types and getting all different types of materials. So while print is absolutely more requested than digital, textbooks, a lot of schools are looking at digital textbooks and asking for digital textbooks. The problem is, I think the content, the digital textbooks that are available are not quite what people are looking for yet. So people want this great digital content in terms of textbooks. I think what's on offer, it's getting there. It's not quite what people are looking for yet. So a bit of a double-edged sword there. And in terms of reference materials, absolutely huge decline in print reference materials. Most likely schools are using databases for these because they're more up to date. Anytime something new comes out, it will be updated, where your print reference is just taking up space on your shelves, not very current necessarily, and might not be used all that often. In general, a huge trend that we've seen is genreification. So many schools are genreifying at least part of their collection, if not trying to genreify their whole collection. So a lot of schools I know are starting with fiction or picture books. So of course, genreification is more of a bookstore model. So they're putting the books in the categories, animal stories, thriller, fantasy, mystery, things like that. So if a student knows what type of book they're looking for, it's much easier for them to find rather than having to know the author and searching on the shelves for a particular author. So Follett is sort of leading the charge with genreification, and they have designed these Follett standard genres with library professionals. So we have genres available for fiction, nonfiction, picture books across all age ranges within K through 12. And with that, they've created these beautiful labels and shelf signs to attract readers. So you can see they are here. They are shelf signs for the bookshelves, and similarly they have labels as well, so they all match up nicely. And we have kits and resources to help libraries switch over from their Dewey to genreification. And we can also process books to genre specifications, making it really, really easy for schools who are looking to genreify their collections. In terms of topics, this is what people have been asking about. So STEM and STEAM, NGSS is next generation science standards. Engineering, maker spaces, coding, that's huge. Activism, civic and global awareness, and young adult editions of adult titles. Mindfulness, growth mindset, narrative nonfiction, of course, is very popular. Gaming, digital citizenship, picture book versions of biographies, and like Jane said, graphic novels. So, I think graphic novels are really being understood as a worthy category in its own right, and it's getting a lot of requests because it's selling really well in the libraries. General trends in the library, maker spaces and learning commons. So a maker space is where people make things. So it can be very high-tech, 3D printers, coding. It can be very low-tech. It can be sewing. It can be a wood shop. And I think really great maker spaces kind of combine the two. So anything to bring people in to create. So maker spaces can be a part of a learning commons. So a learning commons sort of brings the library space from just sort of a space with books to, again, a space where people can collaborate and can create. You'll have a social side, a collaborative side, and allows people to kind of work together and makes the library really the hub of the school, which I think is the goal for many school libraries. And last thing, I just wanted to mention this because we are talking about future-ready libraries. So Follett supports the Future Ready Library Initiative. And again, if PowerPoints get sent out, then you'll be able to click on these links. So there's a Future Ready Librarians group on Facebook, and you can see a little bit more about the Future Library Initiative at that link down there. So these are the initiatives, what a Future Ready librarian should be able to do. Design collaborative spaces, lead beyond the library, advocate for student privacy, cultivate community partnerships, invest strategically in digital resources, ensure equitable digital access, facilitate professional learning, and curate digital resources and tools, empower students as creators, and build instructional partnerships. And that is all I have. Thank you guys so much.